started. There you go. Awesome. So again, thank you for being here, and thank you, John and Jess, for being there as well. So my name is Matthew Voccola, and I represent Member Choice Vacations, and we're organizing the trips with the Good Life programs and activities. You may have remembered in the past that we used to do the banner tours with Sandy Bandieri, and we were a partner of Sandy's for years. And you may have known us as Collette. So I'm going to talk about who we are and who's planning this trip for you and how we've partnered together. And I'm going to dive into the tours themselves. I'm talking both about sunny Portugal, which is going in March of 2022. And then I'll talk about Canyon Country, which is also going in March. So these tours are run at the same time, but we thought we'd leave an opportunity for some people that were interested in a domestic US tour, but others of you that might be interested in traveling to Europe, we're going to talk a little bit about both today. So again, those of you that have seen me present in person in the past, you see me standing there and I'd have my Collette name tag and everyone knew me as the Collette representative, but we are actually partnered with AAA on a national level. And so when we work with AAA, we use the title Member Choice Vacations. But what you got to think about AAA Member Choice Vacations is that you're on a Collette tour. So everything you've always experienced, if you've ever traveled with us, if you've ever done a Collette tour with Good Life, it's the same touring experience, but what you're getting now, in the same way that you had Sandy in the past, you now have your AAA in Concord, New Hampshire, and their travel advisors to answer all of your travel questions and be there for you right in Concord. Because of course, I'm only there sometimes. I only come up to visit, and right now on Zoom to do this presentation. And so AAA is a big company, right? AAA does a lot of things. They've booked, you know, I heard one of you talking about a river cruise that they booked for you. They can do your airlines, hotels, your insurance. At Member Choice Vacations, we just do guided tours. So AAA can sell you any sorts of people, but they've partnered with Collette to create Member Choice Vacations because they know we put together some of the best guided packages. We put together the airfare, the hotels, the meals, the sightseeing, and we try to make it worry-free by just kind of thinking of all of the details, organizing things in a way that makes sense so that you can maximize your vacation. And when you're on the ground, you can stay in lovely accommodations and just really enjoy yourself. So I want to start just before I get into the two tours themselves with just talking about the last year. I know the first thing that you said when you walked in was about a cancellation that you had in July and hoping to be going in August. And so we all lived through a lot of crazy cancellations in the last year. And I want to let you know that AAA is partnered with Member Choice, AAA is partnered with Collette, and the Good Life Center is partnered with us because of our financial stability and how we handled the last year. So I want to talk about the last year when we've been canceling tours and having to let people down. A lot of travel companies out there offered only travel vouchers. And you can see here that we gave 3 choices. I just really want to alert you to choice number 3. We offered full money back refunds to anyone who was on a tour that was canceled over the last year with us. We don't believe that we've earned your money if we haven't offered you a travel service. And so when we had to cancel a tour, we did offer you a voucher or a price protected move, but we also offered you all of your money back. And so over the last, 13, 14, 15 months, we've given back over $130 million to guests so that that money was in your pocket for you to decide when you wanted to take your next trip, not for us to tell you when that was going to be. And so I'm mentioning that, and we're heading into a place now where we're seeing places open up rapidly. We've got tours going on the ground all over the US and in Europe. We've got Costa Rica and Panama. I mean, we're really starting to see the world come back. But if there's ever anything going on in the world and it's not safe for us to go or we cannot take you, just know that you've partnered with us at Collette Member Choice and that we're going to stand by you and your investment in this trip. So let's talk about sunny Portugal first. Sunny Portugal, I was saying, is the first trip that I ever got to take with Collette. It's a 10-day program, and I fell in love with this country. So I'm going to put up the map first to show you sort of the flow of the tour. All of the tours that we put together with Good Life start here in Concord. So we actually pick you up with a motor coach in Concord and get you down to Logan as part of this package. And we'll get you back at the end as well. And then there's an overnight flight from Logan Airport into and out of Lisbon on this tour. And then this tour is going to spend 3 nights on the Riviera, which is called Cascais, the Portuguese Riviera. Then we go up to Evora to see interior Portugal, and then we do 3 nights down in the Algarve, the southern coast, beautiful Mediterranean, and then we'll go up to Lisbon for our last night to fly home. So that is the included tour. I will also talk about a 3-day post-tour extension if you want to stay on and join us in Madeira Island. I did this extension. It is fabulous. So I'll talk about that if you'd like to join us at the end. So again, it's an overnight flight from Boston to Lisbon. Luckily, there are a lot of direct flights. I can't guarantee a direct flight on this trip, but there are quite a few. We'll get you into Lisbon. And then that first day, we are going to transfer you right to Cascais. So this is the Portuguese Riviera. There's a beautiful boardwalk. There's really awesome, cool old architecture. And it's warm here year-round. So March is definitely going to be a tropical climate. You're going to be packing like warm weather clothes this time of year. And this is going to be our setting. I mean, it's really just beautiful. So mansions scattered along the coast. It's like where European royalty used to come in summer. So that evening of arrival, we will have a welcome dinner where we'll get to meet with our fellow travelers and taste some of the delicious food of the region. Really nice red wines, grilled meats, lots of vegetables, really delicious Portuguese cuisine. I came to love it while I was here. So the next morning, when we awake for our first morning in waking up in Portugal, we're going to have a guided panoramic tour of the capital of Lisbon. We're going to head in from Cascais into Lisbon. It's about a 25, 30-minute ride. And we'll go through the Alfama district here, which is the oldest quarter in Lisbon, built on one of the 7 hills. There's cobblestone streets, narrow walkways, winding roads. There's also a really cool tram that will take you up the side of the hills because some of the hills are steep. And then we take you over to the Tower of Belém, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, functioned once as a fortress. They were actually able to pull a chain from this building to a similar building on the other side of the river to stop the boats from coming up the river. There's also a monument to the discoverers here, which is a beautiful, massive statue built in the 1950s. Talking about the age of discovery in Portugal, because so many of the discoverers that left Europe to go discover the New World and the Silk Road and all of the other things did this out of Portugal. And it was the wealth of the Portuguese kings that allowed some of these great discoveries to be made. And so some of that wealth was brought back here, and you get to see the gorgeous architecture from the 16th century. This is Geronimo's monastery, and it's also got an attached maritime museum. It was built during this age to be the symbol of their power, and you can see it when you get there because it is just massive. Gorgeous, beautiful building. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Vasco da Gama's tomb is actually here inside of the building. And then the Maritime Museum that's attached has over 17,000 individual items brought back from all of the different voyages that came back to Portugal. So very, very cool history. And then we'll return to Cascais, which you see here, the beautiful Riviera, where you can have some time at leisure. You can have the evening to yourself. There's lots to do in Cascais. So you have to think about kind of like Portsmouth or Seabrook, some of these like seaside places. This is, you know, a bustling time of year by the river. But if you'd like, you can also join us for an optional Lisbon at night experience. And so this will be an opportunity for us to go to a fado dinner. And fado is a kind of dinner and a show in Portugal. So there's a troupe of people that'll perform this sort of longing, sad, somber music, and then dinner spread throughout. So if you'd like to sign on to the optional tour, we can talk about how to do that at the end of the presentation. So the next morning, we are going to head out to Óbidos, which is a medieval walled town, and you can see here the wall itself. You can actually walk on the wall. It is a small little town, and it's right on the Atlantic coast. It's a Roman settlement, and they're famous for a cherry liqueur with chocolate little cups that they sell, which is really interesting. And then from Óbidos, we continue on to the town of Sintra. And this is where the kings and queens of the 6th century would actually come to summer. And so it's got a royal heritage and a royal history, and it kind of feels like a fairy tale. Some of the castles, they're just so ornately painted that it's really something like unlike you've really ever seen anywhere. And so we build a choice in Sintra. You can either just take the free time and stroll the streets on your own, which many people do find, just little alleyways to find your way in, or you can join us in the National Palace, and the guide will actually take you through the palace. It was built in the 1500s, and they started to build in the 11th century, so it took a very long time. It's got a 1,000-year history in the palace, and so if you'd like, we can have the guide take you through there. Either way, we'll have some time to enjoy Sintra, and then as we head back into town, we are going to stop at the Cabo de Rocha, which is the westernmost point of the continental Europe, and so we'll get to see the place where the sun sets over Europe. So now we're heading into interior Portugal, and we're going to work our way out of Cascais into the charming countryside. We're going to arrive in Arraios, which is the village of rugs, and learn about the history of Portuguese tapestry, which dates back to the Middle Ages. Also in this area, they're famous for cork. So there's actually a cork shortage in the world. We know that we don't always see the cork wine stoppers anymore in the bottles. It's because there is a shortage, but this is one of the places where cork is still harvested, and they turn it into many things besides just wine corks. They turn cork into purses and wallets and pocketbooks and all sorts of crazy things. So we'll learn about that at the Cork Bark Farm, and then we'll stop in Evora, which will be our stop for the evening. We'll spend a night here in Evora. This is the museum city of Portugal because it's an enchanting place, really old architecture, cobblestone streets, 14th century walls, narrow winding lanes. It's a lively university town, so everybody knows wherever the university is, there's always going to be nice restaurants and nightlife and shops and restaurants, lots of attractions here in Evora. We'll stay there overnight, and then the next day we're going to see the medieval walled city's 2nd century Roman temple. This is the temple to Diana, and then there's the 16th century chapel right next door. And then we're also going to stop in the Alentejo wine region, which is famous for their full-bodied reds. Some of the wines are produced all the way back to the Roman times. So the Romans brought to Portugal with them the methods and the huge clay pots instead of barrels that they use here, a very Portuguese way of doing things. Later we arrive in Monsaraz, and this is journeying down to the Algarve coast, the southernmost region of Portugal. We're going to take in the dramatic vistas. The town dates back to the Neolithic age, so really a lot of ancient history, I mean, really old history here. And then we go into the resort town of Lagos, where the Moorish and the Renaissance influence are both seen in the architecture here. So the town lies along the bank of the Rio Benfinissima, and in the 16th century, the walls that enclosed the old town were built. You'll see the beautiful plazas in the center here. It's still a port town, but also a bustling city. And it's also famous for Prince Henry the Navigator having began his exploration around the world here, so in Lagos. And we'll give you some time to stroll through the streets in Lagos. And then the next day, day 7, is completely at leisure. So we give day 7 at leisure because usually a weekend, some people want that break, don't want to have a full packed day. And you can see here, the weather will be beautiful to be laying out and enjoying the southern coast of Portugal. So if you'd like to take the time on your own, you've got that day to do so. But we also do understand some people want fun-filled action every day that's been arranged. And so we do have the Algarve Coastal Cruise, where we set sail on the clear blue waters of the Bay of Lagos and experience some of the most beautiful coastal scenery that Portugal has to offer, from pristine beaches to rocky cliffs. So we'll take in all of this. And of course, this is weather dependent, but absolutely something that if you'd like to have the day arranged, I would totally opt into. I love taking a boat ride. And so the Algarve would definitely be a place to do it. The next day, you'll see, as we travel out of the area, geraniums, camellias, oleanders, fig trees, oranges. This is like the breadbasket of Portugal. And there's also these protective hills in the north that are warmed by the sea. So the Algarve's climate is kind of always protected. So the beautiful beaches attract vacationers from all over the world almost year round. So on day 8, we leave for the day to check out Faro, and this is a protected lagoon. And then we go into its historic city center, which since the 9th century, built by the Romans, You can view the beautiful coastline in the distance. And then we have a lunch included where we have a local chef highlight Algarve's very particular gastronomy with a cooking demonstration. We get to taste some of the local wine and cuisine from the region. We also continue on to Tavira, which is a Moorish town built right on the River Galao. So this splits the city right in half. And then we'll return to Lagos that evening for an evening at leisure. The next day, day 9, we are going to discover some of the textiles and some of the stoneware and ceramics that Portugal is famous for. So we actually take you out to meet a local artisan and learn about how their tiles are produced, which this is one of the things that you'll notice through your entire trip. You will see these beautiful ornate tiles, and you're definitely going to take some home. I brought a few home just to use as posters. They're very, very cool. So we'll meet with a handcraft artisan and help show us how they're made. And then this is our last day together. So we're in Lisbon now. It's our last evening. We'll have a farewell dinner in Lisbon. And then the next day we have airfare arranged to take you from Lisbon back to Logan, where there is a motor coach waiting to take you right back up to Concord. So now we do have a pre-tour and a post-tour. So if you want to like really get out there and see all of Portugal, you can join us for a 5-day pre-tour to Porto, which is famous for the port wine. And if you do that, we'll still have that transfer included down to Logan. You'll just come a couple days early to join us. And you'll arrive in Porto and get to see the beautiful architecture here. You can see how colorful, and right on the edge of a cliff. It's regarded as a culinary hotspot, famous for all of its beautiful, delicious restaurants. We'll have a local guide have a walking tour with us around Porto. We'll check out their beautiful train station. And we'll also see the really cool Dam Luis, which is an incredible view of the Porto skyline from this, with this walking bridge. Very, very cool. We also have a day at leisure where you might want to check out their beautiful palace or explore on your own before we take you down to Cascais to meet up with the main tour. Or you can sign on to the optional post-tour extension. So when the main tour ends, there's a 5-day post-tour, which takes us to Madeira Island. So now a lot of people know the Azores, which are a Portuguese island, but there's also Madeira, which is a lot farther south. It's actually off the coast of Africa. And so it's very warm here and tropical year round. When we arrive in Madeira, we will go to the Funchal Botanical Garden. And this botanical garden is set on the edge of a cliff. I've been here, it's beautiful. And you get to see over the 2,500 plant species that they have at the botanical garden and the beautiful ocean down in the distance. On the next day, we actually kind of take you on a loop around the island, and we'll go to Camar de Lobos, which is the beautiful bay village down below, famous for the Porto Moniz natural pools, where the water is protected by these natural walls. You're kind of in these still pools, but yet you've got the raging Atlantic beyond you. And then we'll fly you back to Lisbon for one night to fly home from the extension, because it's easier to fly home from Lisbon than it is to fly home from Madeira. So I will talk about how to sign up for this particular trip, and I'll open for questions for those of you that are logged in at the end. But that is our Portugal tour for March of 2021. And for those of you that are interested in joining us on our National Parks adventure, Canyon Country is our 8-day tour, and this tour covers the Southwest United States. So we start in Scottsdale and we work our way through the Grand Canyon and Lake Powell, Bryce, and Zion, and we finish with one day in Las Vegas. As always, our tours do include that transfer from Concord down to Logan. This is going to be a day flight. So on day 1, we arrive in Scottsdale. This place is like in the Old West. All of the buildings are adobo. You'll see like the really cool different architecture, the food, delicious food. And our tour, the first kind of full day, we're going to go up to Sedona, which is the famous artist colony where Walt Disney is from. This area has over 300 days of sunlight. So, you know, real beautiful gateway to kind of get into the parks. And you can see the beautiful red rock formations in the distance, situated at the end of the Oak Creek Canyon. Beautiful atmosphere. There's a cool marketplace in the center of town. Besides all of the artisans that are making their handicrafts, from stoneware to art to jewelry, this is also where they filmed a lot of the old Western movies. And so there's a lot of cool Hollywood memorabilia in Sedona as well. And so we'll have time to explore Sedona. And then we'll visit the Oak Creek Canyon, and it's famous for really interesting rock formations. The River Gorge is located in the northernmost part of Arizona between Flagstaff and Sedona. And so this is sort of a nice stop off on our gateway up to the Grand Canyon. And we also see Cathedral Rock, which is one of its most famous formations in the area. This is like the Wile E. Coyote West. You know, you see the Roadrunner coming through in a place like this. And then we're going to work our way through the Kaibab National Forest for its spectacular views of the Grand Canyon approaching in the distance. And then we arrive at the Grand Canyon. And so we're going to spend an evening at the lodge at the Grand Canyon at the South Rim. And so we are going to take a drive that takes us along the Eastern Rim. The Grand Canyon is the 15th national park that the United States designated, and it's dedicated one of the seven natural wonders of the world. Over 2 billion years of geological history at the Grand Canyon, and we're staying right there at the South Rim, so you have an opportunity to go out and explore the canyon while you're here. Stretches along the Colorado River for 277 miles. It's 18 miles wide in some places. It's just so spectacular to stand there and just realize your size. See one of God's great wonders of the world. We're going to visit Cameron's Trading Post, which is for nearly a century has been a stop off for traders and explorers and the natives that leave some of their handicrafts. And so we'll stop here and see some of the native jewelry. And then our next night we spend up at Lake Powell. And so now Lake Powell is the second largest man-made reservoir in the country. And it's studded right in the middle of the desert. So you'll see the mesas and the desert aridness around, but you've got this beautiful reservoir here. And we're staying right at the Lake Powell Lodge. The next morning, we're going to give you a choice on how you will get to explore Lake Powell. Whichever you choose, in the morning of that day, we do have a breakfast cruise included in Lake Powell. So we wake up in the morning at Lake Powell, have an awesome breakfast cruise, and then you can choose whether you'd like to join us on the Monument Valley Navajo Tribe tour, where we actually go out and meet with a local native and have this fascinating tour where we learn about the area and the land, and we actually go to see one of their traditional hogans, which is different than the teepees we do up in the Northeast. Or you can join us on a canyon adventure cruise where we actually take you out on two of the famous canyons off of Lake Powell. So we'll take you the Antelope Canyon and the Navajo Canyon, and we'll just get to see the desert vanish in the distance and kind of zip along this canyon on a boat cruise, which is narrated, and it'll end up at the Glen Canyon Dam, which is like the little cousin to the Hoover Dam. But it's cool to see how these dams work and how they were able to create this reservoir here in the desert, which provided energy and water to so many here in the area. Whichever you choose, the remainder of the afternoon is yours at leisure. And then on day 5, we're going to head out of Lake Powell, and we're going to go and visit the Bryce Canyon National Park, famous for these awesome hoodoos, which are where water and wind eroded the rock away and sort of left these really awesome formations just still there. And so the rock is oxidized. It's like this great copper color. You can just see in the distance. It just looks like a bunch of soldiers standing there almost in some places. And you'll be able to get right up close and personal to get some of those views. We're going to go to Sunset Point and the Sunset Point Rim Trail to get the best views for you. And what's great about all of our tours is these are guided vacations, right? So we've got the guide with you from start to finish, who's able to narrate and explain to you what we're seeing. We've organized the walks so that if you're one of those people that wants to go out and hike, you can by all means have the opportunity and the time to go out and do that hiking. But if you're one of those people that just wants to take in the views, we're also going to just take you in a way that you can stop off and stay at some of these points, and the hiking trails will go around and loop back so that if you're not one of the ones who wants to hike, you don't have to. Really something for everyone in some of these. The next day, we're going to visit Zion. And what's cool about Zion is not only is it like a green Grand Canyon because it's got so much green trees and wildlife there, but there's also a tram system. So again, you can get out a little further than you'd be able to on foot. This tram will take you high and take you low and drop you off at many of the hiking points. So if you do want to hike, you can, but if you just want to take the tram around, you can also. And so we also give you some time in Zion to have a choice. You can either independently explore and go hike off on your own, but the guide will take us to the Zion History Museum. And so if you join us on the Zion History Museum, we're going to learn a greater perspective of what the human experience in Zion has been like, because humans have actually lived in Zion all the way back 12,000 years. Native American culture here is really strong. And so we'll have, a look into the park's history through video exhibits. Or again, you can just go off on your own and explore independently and hike one of those trails for yourself. So when we leave Zion, we are going to head into Las Vegas, and this is going to be our last night of the trip. We are staying right on the Strip at the Paris, and our farewell dinner this evening is going to be right outside to watch the view of the Bellagio water show right across the way there. So if you join us on this tour, hopefully you can put a couple $100 on black and win the whole cost of the tour back. But whichever you do, you're going to have an amazing experience. So please do join us on Canyon Country. So I do want to reiterate that on all of our tours, when we work with the Good Life Center, we organize a hometown pickup that's going to pick the group up in Concord and get you down to Logan. So it's hassle-free. You don't have to worry about getting to and from the airport. And then this tour is completely organized and arranged for you. It has the airfare built into the costs that you see on the flyers, but we'd always love to try to personalize this experience for you. So if we can add a pre-night or a post-night and you want to spend some extra time in Las Vegas, let us know. If you want to do the pre-tour to Porto or the post-tour to Madeira on Portugal, we can always do that. And then do chat with John and Jeff and any of the agents over in AAA in Concord about any optional excursions or any sort of deviations they can make for you to make this the best trip for you possible. One of the things that we always recommend, AAA, me, Collette, member choice, everybody recommends travel protection. We did an amazing thing over the last year refunding money, but you never know if the trip that you're booked on, something might happen personally for you that might come up. And so at Member Choice, we offer a no worries travel protection waiver, cancel for any reason up until the day before departure and get all of your money back, no questions asked. The only thing that you're out is the insurance premium itself. And so we highly recommend that when you're signing on for a tour of this magnitude, that you sign on for the travel protection waiver, because it really protects you for anything pre-departure. And then on tour, it covers you for medical, evacuation, lost or delayed luggage. It covers for quarantine. I mean, I've seen this thing cover for everything. So please, by all means, sign up for the travel protection when you sign on for one of these tours. Then once you're a loyal traveler with us, we have the loyalty program. So you earn $150 off of your next trip if you become a regular traveler with us. Goes down slightly to $100 after your first year, but we'd love to have you travel with us again. So we offer you some additional savings for that. And then your AAA travel advisor can talk with you, but you are going to need a passport to go to Portugal. And we ask that your passport is valid for 8 months past the return date of your trip, because the countries abroad really require that your passport, is valid, just in case anything were to happen. They're going to require that. So we ask you to make sure that your passport has that validity. But really in this time, I mean, everything is changing. International travel is available and I know we can do it right now, but there are certain little hoops that we need to jump over in this world post-COVID. And so that's why partnering with Collette, Member Choice, with your AAA in Concord, we're going to make sure that anything is necessary for you to make this trip happen. We're going to make sure that you have that available to you and that we can make this as easy as possible to make the trip happen. So you in the room, you've got the flyers in front of you. For those of you joining us on Zoom, we do have a group landing page where you can get this information digitally. I know it was linked at the Good Life Center, but it's also here. This is being recorded, so please pause to write that down. And then I just want to go through the details. So Sunny Portugal is going from March 15th through the 24th of 2022. The deposit, land and air, is $600 per person, and the travel protection waiver is an additional $399. But this is 100% refundable until September 16th. So what that means is if you reserve your seat today and you leave your money for the travel protection and the tour, and for any reason you want to get out of this tour before September 16th, we're going to give you every dollar back. There's no penalty. We will not even keep your insurance waiver premium. That is refundable until September 16th. After September 16th, if you decide to cancel and you've taken the travel protection waiver, the only thing you would be out is the $399. And at that point, you have until the day before departure to make that cancellation. Final payments are January 14th, and the tour cost, land and air, is $25.98 per person based on 2 people in the room. And if you're a AAA member, that's an additional $50 savings. If you're not a AAA member, go get your membership, because it's basically like getting a free membership with the savings on this tour. If you're interested in the Canyon Country trip, going at a similar time, this one's going March 25th through April 1st. Similar $600 deposit, but the insurance premium is a little bit less, $299. This one is 100% refundable until the 25th of September. Final payments on January 24th, $31.98 per person double. And that's why I say that Portugal trip is such an amazing price. These are a similar number of days, and the national parks are really expensive. There's just only so much space at those parks. And so to be able to say you're going on a European adventure for less than you're going to the US is really just such an amazing price for that Portugal trip. But whichever you're interested in, talk with your AAA travel advisor in Concord, New Hampshire. The phone number over there is 603-228-0301. When you call in, let them know that you're interested in one of the Good Life's tours. And again, those web links are up on the screen. So if you're watching this on Zoom, please pause now and write those down. And now, for those of you in the room with me, hello, I'm back. Thank you. This is awesome. And thank you for letting me talk through all of that. If you were only interested in one of those, I appreciate you sitting through both. I would love to answer any questions that have come up for you through all this. No questions. John, anything that you think I should touch upon that I might have missed?
I think you covered a good portion of it. Obviously, the price for sunny Portugal is fantastic. That's definitely the lowest I've seen it for the last couple of years. So that's really good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I would say that there's not really a whole lot else that you missed by any means.
So someone did join us on Zoom. Teresa, awesome. Thank you so much. And I don't see you on the screen, but I do see that you're still here. So I'm going to copy and paste into this chat box that you just put that into, the place where you can go to get the detailed information. So you can highlight those and paste those in. And if you're watching this on the recording, those will actually be right next to you on the screen right now, hopefully. So you can get the details there, and then call your AAA office to sign up, chat with one of the travel advisors. Awesome. Well, if there are no questions, I'm going to thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to stop the recording now because I know that not everybody's going to need to see all of this.